You're listening to Salford City Radio 94.4 FM. With your host Jimmy Petruzzi, bringing news from local area around the world. We're very fortunate in this show to have interviewed many people. We've interviewed some of the world's best athletes, sports people who work in a wide variety of different fields. We've interviewed some of the most influential people in the field of psychology related fields too. Today we have a very fascinating guest, really interesting guest who's going to give us an insight into Alzheimer's and dementia. Our guest today is presenter and Alzheimer's Society Ambassador Angela Rippon, as well as Care UK's Head of Nursing, Care and Dementia Services, Suzanne Mumford. They're going to give us a bit of an insight into some of the misconceptions around dementia. And welcome to the show, Angela and Suzanne. Great to have you on board.
Thank you. Good to hear from you, Jim.
Fantastic. So, okay, give us a bit of an insight in terms of there's some research that suggests that there's a misconception of what Alzheimer's and dementia are. They're the same thing. And I think there's a percentage of people who think that if their family member develops dementia, they might too. And there's a percentage of people thinking that see if someone has the condition, they don't live a meaningful life. Can you just maybe sort of, debunk some of these misconceptions around Alzheimer's and dementia?
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
So dementia is an umbrella term for a number of different diseases, neurological diseases that actually share similar symptoms. And one of the symptoms that people associate with dementia most commonly is memory loss. Mm-hmm. Alzheimer's disease is one of those dementias, and about 65% of people that have a dementia have Alzheimer's type dementia, but there are lots of different types of dementias. And therefore, people often associate memory loss with Alzheimer's disease, but actually and talk about Alzheimer's rather than dementia.
Yes.
So essentially what dementia is that umbrella term.
Yes.
And we can see from people who are living with dementia that they might have some level of memory loss. But essentially what they're doing is they're losing the ability to continue life in a normal way as we might see it normally. So they can often lose function, lose the ability to communicate effectively. And life can seem like a whole selection of losses, but the better we are able to understand dementia and different types of dementia and where the brain is actually being affected, the better we can support that person to live a fulfilling life and to enable them to continue to remain in control of their life for as long as possible.
Absolutely.
And to support their families to help them to do that.
No, absolutely. And if someone, like, for example, if someone people probably listening in thinking, okay, maybe someone in their family is living with dementia and they might be thinking, okay, maybe a parent or a grandparent. Is it likely, is it sort of heredity in terms of, like, does it mean that if someone's sort of member of family has dementia, they're gonna have it as well at some point?
So most types of dementia are not genetic. Often a person who has a genetic type of dementia will have an early onset around 30, and they will have been tested, and their family will know that they have a higher risk of developing dementia. For most people, dementia that it comes on in later life is often lifestyle related, and there is not the higher risk of the rest of the family getting dementia. But obviously it is lifestyle related, so if you're more likely to have high blood pressure or vascular disease, then you are more likely as a family member, having grown up in that environment, to have similar problems that your parents might have had if you haven't changed your lifestyle.
That's interesting. So obviously the risk increases and with certain factors, and I suppose, it must be sort of devastating for someone to a point. Obviously people living their life, and it has a big impact, no doubt, on someone's identity in terms of sort of going forward. In terms of life, meaningful life, what are your thoughts on can people with dementia still live a meaningful life?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll agree on that. Yeah, I'll hand over to you, Angela.
Yeah, brilliant.
No question that you can live well with it. Just because you get a diagnosis on a Monday doesn't mean that on Tuesday your life falls apart, because it doesn't. Whichever dementia you are diagnosed with, it is a progressive illness. It's not going to change you overnight. It is going to develop over time. and will get progressively worse. But during that time, this is why it is so important that we have so much information about dementia out there, that people understand what it is, how it's going to affect someone, because it will take years before that person is perhaps not able to be a fully functioning member of society. And in between time, in that journey that they make towards the end of life, it is really important that that person is still seen as a much loved and respected member of the community,
absolutely,
and particularly of your family. A guy will still want to go to the football match. He'll still want to go down the pub with his mates. You, as a family, you'll still want to go to the theatre and enjoy it, go out for dinner, enjoy Christmas, enjoy weddings, christenings, parties. Life will continue. But once you have the diagnosis for dementia, what that diagnosis will do will explain why people have perhaps been forgetful, which may be one of the symptoms, why perhaps their character is changing, and from being someone who was very outgoing, suddenly they become very agoraphobic. Somebody who has been, very, very calm, suddenly becomes very argumentative. It means that as a family, as a society, as a group of friends, you understand the effect that your brain cells being killed off by this disease called dementia, vascular dementia, Lewy bodies, Alzheimer, whatever the form of dementia is, parts of your brain are actually dying and therefore no longer enable you to do certain things. I mean, our brain is working all the time. It's why I'm able to talk to you, hear you,
absolutely,
see you, why I'm able to move my hand, because all bits of my brain, as far as I'm aware, are still intact. But dementia kills off bits of your brain, and so certain things stop happening. And as soon as society understands that that is what is going on, then they can deal with any of the symptoms that manifest themselves in a person with dementia and not let them get in the way of their friendship or their love for that person. And so you can go on having a very fulfilled life. I know people who are like me, an ambassador for the Alzheimer's Society, but then they may be carers, they may be people interested, they may be medics, they may be scientists, but I know many of the Alzheimer's Society's ambassadors, indeed many of them, the ambassadors for other charities that are and organizations involved with dementia, are people who are still giving interviews, who are going out and giving talks to people about what it means to have dementia. They are still living very full lives. So goodness me, no, that idea that your life alters and changes dramatically is wrong. It changes over time, but during that time, while the illness is progressing, if you understand it, you are still able to ensure that the person with dementia is living a very full and committed life, and living as well as they possibly can. And importantly, especially what Care UK have done was most recently in providing a brand new video about dementia, which they call One Step at a Time. It may be called One Step at a Time, but it is a massive, I feel a bit like the first man on the moon. It is a giant leap for mankind,
absolutely,
a giant step forward for mankind in the way that it talks about how you deal with the diagnosis, how you can live with dementia, how you can support carers. It is a giant leap forward in informing people in general about what dementia is and how as a society we are going to have to live with it and deal with it.
Absolutely. No, you've made some great points there. And I suppose, thinking about that in terms of like people's family and friends, and no doubt it's kind of an impact on them as well in terms of sort of knowing one of their loved ones. And is there sort of anywhere, like you mentioned there, KUK, is it like anywhere that people can sort of go, like for example, if there's sort of, it must be overwhelming also, obviously it's, devastating and overwhelming for the person who's been diagnosed, but also like maybe the family members who are sort of looking to sort of, for some of these misconceptions to demystify.
Well, yes, I mean, you can go to the Alzheimer's Society website and find all sorts of information. Yeah. But equally, you can go to the Care UK site and find all sorts of information. And I'm sure Suzanne can tell you about the kind of support that organisation can give you, because it is terrific, isn't it, Suzanne?
Yeah, absolutely. So, people can go to our website, kuk.com. They can look at the video, so kuk.com/one step at a time. We also have a number of different resources, so we have little booklets that people can pick up. people can come and visit us and just have a conversation in private and express their feelings, their concerns, and be signposted to who would be the best people to talk to, where can I get help from, what is there out there to help me. So we are there as a community resource to support people to understand the journey of dementia a bit better, but also there is a resource to help people living with dementia to live well with their diagnosis.
Absolutely, that's brilliant. I really want to thank you guys for coming on board the show. It's been really informative, and no doubt a lot of people listening have been affected, if not directly. Family and friends. I know certainly family and friends who have dementia as well. So I think what you've provided some great information. I think it's really important that we'd sort of continue to demystify some of the misconceptions around dementia as well. So I really want to thank you for coming on board the show. Salford City Radio 94.4 FM with your host Jimmy Petruzzi. Thank you.